The giant crystal chandelier sparkled like a million diamonds hanging from the ceiling. Music filled the enormous hall where men in fancy suits and women in beautiful gowns laughed and danced. Mr. Harrison, the millionaire, stood in his perfect white suit, smiling at his guests. Everything he owned screamed money. Golden picture frames lined the walls. Marble statues stood in every corner. Even the doorknobs were made of real gold. "Another glass of champagne, sir?" asked Naomi quietly. She was a maid, dressed in a simple black dress with a white apron. Nobody really noticed her as she moved through the crowd carrying trays of fancy food and drinks. That's how it always was. Rich people saw the food floating by, but they never really saw the person holding the tray. Mr. Harrison took the glass without looking at her. "Thank you," he muttered, already turning back to his important guests. He was talking about his new yacht, his third vacation home, and how much money he made last month. His wife, Mrs. Harrison, stood nearby holding their 2 children close. 7-year-old Emma wore a pink dress that cost more than most people earn in a month. 5-year-old Tommy squirmed in his tiny suit, wanted to run and play instead of standing still. Naomi noticed everything. She saw how Emma's eyes looked tired. She saw how Tommy kept pulling at his tight collar. She saw how Mrs. Harrison's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. But Naomi said nothing. She just kept working, kept watching, kept moving through the crowd like a shadow. Then everything changed in one terrible second. Crash! The front doors exploded open. 5 men in black masks stormed into the hall, carrying guns. Their boots thundered against the marble floor. One of them fired a shot straight up into the chandelier. Bang! Glass rained down like sharp snowflakes. Someone screamed. Then everyone screamed. "Everybody down! Now!" the biggest robber shouted. His voice was rough and mean. "Get on the floor, or I start shooting people." The fancy guests dropped like dominoes. Women in expensive dresses pressed their faces against the cold floor. Men who ran companies and owned buildings curled up like scared children. Mr. Harrison fell to his knees, his white suit getting dirty for the first time ever. His whole body shook. "Please," he whispered. "Please don't hurt us. Take whatever you want." The robbers laughed. They spread out across the hall, pointing their guns at the terrified guests. One robber started ripping necklaces off women's necks. Another grabbed watches off men's wrists. A third one stuffed his pockets with wallets and phones. "Where's the safe?" the leader demanded, pressing his gun against Mr. Harrison's head. "I know a rich man like you has a safe. Tell me now." Mr. Harrison's face turned white as paper. Sweat dripped down his forehead. All his money, all his power, all his importance meant nothing now. The gun against his head was the only thing that mattered. "Upstairs," he stammered. "Second floor, behind the painting of the ocean. The code is 7-4-9-2. Take it all. Just please don't hurt my family." Mrs. Harrison clutched Emma and Tommy tighter. The children were crying, their small bodies shaking with fear. Tommy buried his face in his mother's shoulder. Emma's eyes were squeezed shut, tears streaming down her cheeks. That's when Naomi did something nobody expected. She didn't scream. She didn't drop to the floor. She didn't even look scared. She just stood there, completely calm, still holding her empty tray. While everyone else panicked, Naomi's face remained peaceful. Her hands didn't shake. Her breathing stayed slow and steady. She watched the robbers the way a scientist watches an experiment, carefully studying every move they made. "You!" One of the robbers spotted her. He marched over, waving his gun. "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Get down." Naomi looked at him but didn't move. Her dark eyes were steady and clear. Mr. Harrison noticed her from the floor. Even through his fear, he felt confused. Why wasn't his maid terrified? Why was she just standing there? He had seen Naomi work in his house for 2 years, always quiet, always in the background. He realized he didn't know anything about her. Not really. Where did she come from? What was her life like before she worked here? He had never asked. She was just a maid, the person who cleaned and served food and disappeared when she wasn't needed. But now, looking at her calm face while guns pointed everywhere, Mr. Harrison wondered if he had been very, very wrong about Naomi. 2 robbers ran upstairs to find the safe. The other 3 kept their guns on the guests. The leader walked slowly around the room, looking at all the scared people on the floor. Rich people, he laughed meanly. So powerful until someone takes away your power. Look at you now, crying like babies. Then he saw Mrs. Harrison and the children. Well, he said, walking toward them. What do we have here? Pretty lady, cute kids. Maybe I should take one of them with us. To make sure nobody calls the police too fast. Mrs. Harrison gasped. She pulled her children even closer, but there was nowhere to go. The robber reached down, grabbing Tommy's arm. This little one will do, he said. Tommy screamed. Emma screamed louder. Mrs. Harrison begged and cried, No, please, not my baby, please. And then Naomi moved. She stepped forward, placing herself directly between the robber and the children. Her body blocked his path completely. The empty tray dropped from her hands, clattering against the floor. The sound echoed through the hall like a bell. Everyone froze. The robber stared at her in shock. Are you crazy? Move! But Naomi didn't move. She stood like a wall, solid and unshakable. Her voice came out quiet but strong, cutting through all the chaos like a knife through butter. No, she said simply. The children stay behind me. The robber raised his gun, pressing it against Naomi's forehead. His hand trembled with anger. Lady, I will shoot you right now. Do you understand me? I will. Shoot. You. Mr. Harrison watched from the floor, his heart pounding. This was it. His maid was about to die protecting his children. He wanted to do something, wanted to be brave, but fear kept him frozen. Naomi looked straight into the robber's eyes. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. The gun pressed against her skin, but she might as well have been looking at a toy. And then she smiled. Just a tiny smile, like she knew a secret nobody else knew. No, Naomi said again, her voice even calmer than before. You won't. The robber's finger tightened on the trigger. Everyone in the room held their breath. This was it. The maid was going to die. But Naomi just kept looking at him with those calm, steady eyes. You won't shoot, she repeated softly, because you're not a killer. You're a thief. There's a big difference. The robber's hand shook harder. How do you know what I am? Because, Naomi said, her voice gentle like a teacher explaining something to a student. Killers don't hesitate. They don't argue. They just shoot. But you're standing here talking to me. That means you don't want to kill anyone. You came here for money, not murder. The other robbers had stopped what they were doing. They all stared at Naomi and their leader. The whole room was so quiet you could hear people scared breathing. She's right, boss, one of the other robbers said nervously. We came for the cash, remember? We don't need to hurt nobody. The leader's eyes darted back and forth behind his mask. Naomi could see him thinking, doubting himself. Good. Doubt was what she needed. Listen to me carefully, Naomi continued, taking one small step forward. The gun was still pointed at her, but now it touched her chest instead of her forehead. Right now, you have stolen some jewelry and money. That's bad, but it's not the worst thing. If you leave right now, you might get away. Maybe the police catch you later, maybe they don't. But if you hurt someone, especially a child, every cop in the city will hunt you down. They won't stop. They won't sleep. They will find you. Mr. Harrison watched in amazement. His maid was negotiating with armed robbers like she did this every day. Where did she learn to talk like this? To stay calm like this? He realized he was seeing a completely different person than the quiet woman who served his dinner. You're trying to trick me, the leader said, but his voice sounded less sure now. No trick, Naomi said. Just the truth. And here's another truth. Do you hear that? Everyone listened. In the distance, very faint, came the sound of sirens. The police are coming, Naomi said. Someone in this neighborhood heard that gunshot. They called 911. Those sirens are getting closer every second. You have maybe 3 minutes before they arrive. Maybe less. The robbers looked at each other with wide, panicked eyes. Suddenly they weren't scary anymore. They were just scared young men who made a bad choice. 3 minutes, Naomi continued, her voice still calm and steady. You can spend those 3 minutes hurting people and guaranteeing you go to prison for a very long time. Or you can take what you already have and run. Your choice, but choose fast. Time is running out. The sirens were definitely getting louder now. Everyone could hear them clearly. "Boss, we gotta go," one robber shouted. "She's right. We gotta move." But the leader kept his gun on Naomi. He was angry now. Angry because this maid, this nobody, had taken control of his robbery. Angry because she made him look weak in front of his crew. Angry because everything was falling apart. "You think you're so smart?" he snarled. "You think you can just talk and I'll listen? Maybe I should shoot you just to show everyone who's really in charge here." Mrs. Harrison gasped. Emma and Tommy cried harder. Mr. Harrison squeezed his eyes shut, unable to watch. But Naomi didn't even blink. "You could do that," she said quietly. "But then what? You'll have blood on your hands. You'll have a murder charge. And these people on the floor, they've all seen your face. Well, your mask, they've heard your voice. Every single person here will be a witness. You'll spend the rest of your life in a prison cell, eating terrible food, sleeping on a hard bed, never seeing the sun except through bars." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Or," she continued, "you can be smart. Take the jewelry you already grabbed. Take the money from the safe upstairs. Run out that door before the police arrive. Maybe you get caught later, maybe you don't. But at least you'll have a chance. Dead bodies don't give you a chance. Dead bodies only give you life in prison." The leader's gun hand was trembling badly now. Sweat dripped down his neck, soaking into his black shirt. 2 minutes, Naomi said, glancing at nothing, just making him think about time. "Maybe less. What's it going to be?" "Boss!" The 2 robbers came running down the stairs, carrying bags full of cash and jewelry from the safe. "We got it all. Let's go." The sirens were so loud now, they sounded like they were right outside. The leader looked at Naomi, then at the children behind her, then at his crew, then at the bags of money. "You're lucky," he finally said to Naomi, lowering his gun. "You're real lucky." "No," Naomi said, "you're lucky, because I just saved your life from yourself." The robber stared at her for one more second, confused by what she meant. Then he turned to his crew. "Let's move. Out the back." The 5 robbers ran toward the back door of the mansion. Their boots thundered on the marble. Bags of stolen jewelry and cash bounced against their shoulders. But Naomi wasn't done yet. As the leader passed by her, she did something that made everyone gasp. She grabbed his arm, just reached out and grabbed it, stopping him in his tracks. "One more thing," she said, looking into his eyes. "That gun you're carrying, is the safety on?" The robber looked confused. "What?" "The safety. The little switch that keeps the gun from firing accidentally. Is it on?" He glanced down at his gun, checking. "Yeah, it's... Wait, how did you..." In that split second while he was distracted, Naomi moved. Her hand shot out faster than a snake, twisting the gun right out his grip. She spun it around, clicked something, and suddenly she was holding the gun, pointed at the floor, with the bullets popped out into her other hand. It happened so fast that the robber just stood there with his mouth open, staring at his empty hands. "Now you can run," Naomi said, handing him back the empty gun. "But you can't shoot anyone on your way out. You're welcome." The robber's eyes went huge. "Who are you?" The siren screamed right outside now. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Car doors slammed. Police officers shouted commands. "Run," Naomi said simply. "Or don't. Your choice." The robber grabbed his empty gun and sprinted toward the back door where his crew was already disappearing into the night. He kept looking back at Naomi as he ran, like he'd just seen a ghost. The front doors burst open. 6 police officers rushed in, guns drawn, flashlights sweeping the room. "Everyone stay down," an officer shouted. "Is anyone hurt?" "They went out the back," Mr. Harrison yelled from the floor, finally finding his voice. 5 men. They ran out the back door. For officers immediately sprinted toward the back of the house, chasing the robbers. 2 stayed behind to check on the guests. Slowly, people started to get up from the floor. Dresses were wrinkled and dirty. Fancy hairstyles were messed up. Makeup was smeared from crying. Everyone looked shocked and shaken. But Naomi just stood there, calm as ever, still holding the bullets in her hand. Mrs. Harrison pulled her children close, covering their faces with kisses. "You're safe, you're safe, you're safe," she kept saying over and over. Emma peeked out from her mother's arms and looked at Naomi. "You saved us," the little girl whispered. Tommy nodded, his eyes wide. "You were so brave. You weren't scared at all." Naomi knelt down so she was eye level with the children. She smiled, a real warm smile this time. "Everyone gets scared," she said gently. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you're scared." Mr. Harrison walked over slowly, staring at Naomi like he'd never seen her before. Because really he hadn't. "How did you do that?" he asked, his voice full of wonder and confusion. "How did you stay so calm? How did you talk to them like that? And that move with a gun, where did you learn that?" Naomi stood up, brushing off her apron. She looked at Mr. Harrison for a long moment, deciding something. "There are things about me you don't know," she finally said. Before Mr. Harrison could ask more questions, they heard shouting from the back of the house. The police officers who had chased the robbers were bringing them back. Hands in cuffs, heads hanging down in defeat. "We got them," one officer called out. "They were trying to jump the back fence, but we caught them all." The 5 robbers were lined up against the wall. Without their guns and their scary voices, they just looked like regular people who made very bad choices. The leader kept staring at Naomi, still trying to figure out what had happened. A police detective walked into the hall, her badge shining on her belt. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp, smart eyes. She looked around at all the scared guests, at the broken chandelier, at the mess everywhere. Then she saw Naomi. The detective stopped walking. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open. "Naomi," the detective said, her voice filled with shock. "Naomi Martinez? Is that really you?" Everyone turned to stare at Naomi. Mr. Harrison felt more confused than ever. Naomi gave a small smile. "Hello, Detective Chun. It's been a while." "Been a while?" Detective Chin laughed in disbelief. "You disappeared 3 years ago. Everyone at the department wondered what happened to you. You were one of our best officers." The hall went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. "Wait," Mr. Harrison said slowly. "Officer? You're saying my maid used to be a police officer?" Detective Chin shook her head. "Not just any police officer. Naomi was in our special tactical unit. She was trained in hostage situations, armed robberies, dangerous rescues. She could talk down criminals, disarm suspects, handle any weapon you put in her hands. She won awards, saved lives. Then one day she just turned in her badge and disappeared." Everyone stared at Naomi with their mouths hanging open. Mrs. Harrison clutched her children, looking at the woman who had served their family dinner for 2 years. Emma and Tommy's eyes were huge with wonder. "You were a police officer?" Emma whispered, "Like a superhero?" Naomi knelt down again, her eyes soft as she looked at the little girl. "Not a superhero. Just a person who learned how to help people when they're in danger. But why did you stop?" Tommy asked, "Why did you become our maid instead?" Naomi was quiet for a moment. Her eyes looked sad, like she was remembering something painful. "I saw too much bad stuff," she finally said, speaking simply so the children would understand. "Too many people getting hurt. Too much anger and violence. It made my heart heavy. Really, really heavy. I needed to do something different for a while. Something quiet and peaceful. Your family gave me that job, and I needed it." She looked up at Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. "You gave me a chance to heal, to be around a normal family, to see children playing and laughing instead of crying because something terrible happened. I needed to remember that the world has good things in it too, not just bad things." Mrs. Harrison had tears streaming down her face. "You could have told us. We would have understood." "I know," Naomi said gently. "But I wanted to be just Naomi the maid for a while. Not Naomi the cop. Not Naomi who fought criminals. Just Naomi, the person who makes breakfast and waters the plants and lives a quiet life. Detective Chin walked over and put her hand on Naomi's shoulder. Well, tonight, you were definitely more than just a maid. These officers told me what happened. You talked those robbers down, kept everyone safe, disarmed the leader. Naomi, you did exactly what we trained you to do. I did what anyone should do, Naomi said. I protected people who couldn't protect themselves. One of the young police officers spoke up. Ma'am, the way you handled that situation was incredible. The leader just told us you got his gun away from him so fast, he didn't even see it happen. He said you move like lightning. Naomi shrugged. Muscle memory. Once you learn something that well, your body never forgets, even if your mind wants to. Mr. Harrison stepped forward. His expensive white suit was dirty and wrinkled. His hair was messy. He looked nothing like the confident millionaire from the beginning of the evening. He looked humble. He looked small. Naomi, he said quietly, I need to apologize to you. She looked surprised. Apologize? For what? For never really seeing you, Mr. Harrison said, and his voice cracked with emotion. You worked in my house for 2 years. You took care of my children. You served my family every single day. And I never once asked you about your life, about who you were, about your story. I just saw you as a help, as someone in the background. I didn't see you as a real person with a real history. He looked around at all his fancy things, at his broken chandelier, at his scared guests. Tonight, I learned something important, he continued. All this money, all these expensive things, all this wealth. It meant nothing when those robbers came in. My money couldn't protect me. My power couldn't protect me. I was helpless. But you, the person I barely noticed, the person I thought was just a maid, you were the one with real power, real courage, real strength. Tears ran down his face now. He didn't try to hide them. You saved my children, he whispered. You saved my wife. You saved me. And I don't even know your favorite color. I don't know where you grew up. I don't know anything about you because I never cared enough to ask. I'm so sorry. Naomi's eyes were wet too. She reached out and squeezed his hand. It's okay, she said softly. A lot of rich people don't really see their workers. We become invisible. But maybe now you'll see differently. Maybe you'll remember that everyone has a story. Everyone matters. The person who cleans your house, who drives your car, who serves your food, they're all real people with real lives and real value. Mr. Harrison nodded, unable to speak. He just held her hand and cried. Mrs. Harrison came over with Emma and Tommy. The children wrapped their arms around Naomi's waist, hugging her tight. Thank you, Mrs. Harrison said, her voice shaking. Thank you for being brave when we were scared. Thank you for protecting my babies. They're good kids, Naomi said, hugging them back. Worth protecting. Detective Chin cleared her throat. Naomi, I have to ask, would you ever consider coming back to the force? We really need officers like you. People who can stay calm under pressure. People who can talk instead of just shooting. People with your skills and your heart. Naomi looked around the hall, at the family clinging to her, at the guests who were looking at her like she was a hero, at the robbers lined up against a wall, alive because she chose words over violence. Maybe, she said slowly, maybe someday. But right now, I think I'm exactly where I need to be. She looked down at Emma and Tommy. These two still need someone to make them breakfast and help them with homework and tell them bedtime stories. That's important work, too. Emma squeezed her tighter. Please don't leave us, Naomi. We love you. I love you, too, sweet girl, Naomi said, kissing the top of her head. I'm not going anywhere. The police spent the next hour taking statements from everyone. The robbers were taken away to jail. The stolen jewelry and money were returned to their owners. Slowly, the guests left, still talking in amazed whispers about what they had witnessed. Finally, it was just the Harrison family and Naomi, standing in a destroyed hall with broken glass everywhere. Naomi, Mr. Harrison said, starting tomorrow, things are going to be different. You're not just a maid anymore. You're family, and I want to know everything about you. Your story, your life, your dreams. Will you tell us?" Naomi smiled. "I'd like that. I'd like that very much." Tommy yawned, exhausted from all the excitement and fear. "Naomi, will you tuck us in tonight? I don't want Mom to do it. I want you." "Me too," Emma said. "You make us feel safe." "Of course," Naomi said. "Come on, let's get you two to bed. It's way past your bedtime." As she led the children upstairs, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison watched her go. This woman they had barely noticed for 2 years. This woman who turned out to be their family's guardian angel. "We're the luckiest people in the world," Mrs. Harrison whispered to her husband. "Not because of our money, but because Naomi chose to work for us, chose to be here tonight, chose to be brave when it mattered most." Mr. Harrison nodded, watching Naomi disappear up the stairs with his children's hands in hers. "Real courage doesn't come from money," he said quietly, finally understanding. "It comes from refusing to let fear win." The next morning, news of the robberies spread everywhere. Reporters wanted to interview Naomi. The story went viral on social media. "Former police officer working as maid stops armed robbery," the headlines read. Videos from security cameras showed her calm face, her steady hands, her incredible bravery. But Naomi didn't want to be famous. She just wanted to do her job and live her quiet life. Though now, when she served breakfast, Mr. Harrison asked her about her favorite books. When she cleaned, Mrs. Harrison asked about her childhood. When she watered the plants, Emma and Tommy followed her around, asking to hear police stories. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen. She was valued. She was loved. And that meant more to her than any medal or news story ever could. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room turns out to be the bravest. Sometimes the person serving your dinner is the same person who would die protecting your children. Sometimes courage wears an apron and carries a tray. And sometimes, just sometimes, the real heroes are the ones we walk past every day without noticing. Until the moment we desperately need them. And then we finally see them for who they really are. Did this story touch your heart? Did Naomi's courage inspire you? Then hit that like button right now. Share this story with someone who needs to hear about real bravery today. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, powerful, and unexpected tales that will change how you see the world. Because every story matters. Every person matters. And you never know who the hero in the room really is until the moment comes. Stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching. See you in the next story.